Hey Siri, how much is Apple worth these days?
Apple's market cap exceeded $1 trillion on August 2nd.
That's right. Apple just became the first public US company in history to reach the 12 zeros club. The startup that launched out of Steve Jobs' garage in 1976 has become the biggest success story in American business. 2 decades ago, Apple was a small computer manufacturer on the verge of bankruptcy. Now it's the symbol of Silicon Valley's takeover of not only our personal lives, but our economic markets. Apple is bigger than competitors like Amazon, Alphabet, and Microsoft. The tech giant's comeback story is so unbelievable that Hollywood can't stop making movies about it. But it's still hard to process why a company that makes phones, laptops, and awkward Taylor Swift commercials has such a huge valuation. So let's dig in. Why exactly is Apple worth $1 trillion? We can break down Apple's $1 trillion valuation with a few easier to digest numbers.
First one, $700.
More than $700, or the average selling price for the iPhone. The iPhone story is well known. Back in 2007, Apple was on the rise thanks to the return of co-founder Steve Jobs, who rolled out iconic products like the iMac and the iPod. But none of Jobs' earlier successes could have prepared the world for his greatest creation yet.
And we are calling it iPhone.
The iPhone became the most popular gadget of the modern era, selling more than 1 billion units in 9 years. At the end of 2017, Apple was selling about 10 iPhones every second. But selling lots of gadgets isn't enough to justify $1 trillion price tag. The secret to the iPhone's success is not just how fast it sells, but how much it sells for. When the first one launched at $500, it was considered an expensive luxury product.
Approving $1 million deals from my iPhone.
Typically, consumer electronics like PCs and television sets get cheaper over time. Even devices powered by Android, Google's rival mobile operating system, have seen their average selling price fall by more than $200 since 2010. But the iPhone is different. Under the leadership of Jobs' successor Tim Cook, it's actually gotten both more expensive and more ubiquitous as it's aged. The best example is last year's iPhone X. The 10th anniversary device cost a whopping $1,000, making it the most expensive iPhone ever. Unlike some previous iterations, the iPhone X didn't lead to a surge in sales, but it did boost the average selling price of the iPhone well above $700 and earn Apple its most profitable quarter yet. The iPhone has stayed above that $700 threshold through 2018, and the iPhone X has been the best-selling version all year. Apple is unique in its ability to cultivate fierce loyalty among its user base. It's been true since the days of the Macintosh, but now the company has sold so many phones to so many people that they're unlikely to reach many new customers. Even in China, a country Apple has long promised would be an engine of its growth, sales are slowing down. So a big part of the company's strategy of late is stuffing the iPhone with flashy features like facial recognition, portrait mode, and Siri.
You're damn right.
Thanks, Siri. Apple is also banking on its patented customer loyalty to help it expand into lots of new sectors, which brings us to our next big number.
$50 billion.
By 2020, Apple hopes to generate $50 billion in revenue per year from content and services. While the iPhone is the dominant driver of Apple's business, digital content and services are now its second biggest revenue source. That's things like the App Store, where Apple gets a 30% cut every time you buy a skin in Fortnite, Apple Pay, where the company takes a tiny cut of every transaction, and Apple Care, the trusted customer support program of indignant soccer moms everywhere.
I told my Apple Care that I could walk in the store and get the part!
Apple's media ambitions could eventually prove even more lucrative.
Those are the forecasts.
There's already Apple Music, the streaming music service that has more than 38 million paying subscribers.
It's out of this world. He's excited. He knows about it, that guy right there.
Apple has also acquired a new subscription app called Texture, which it may use to get people to pay for online magazines. And soon, there will be a flurry of Apple-produced television shows by stars like Reese Witherspoon, Oprah Winfrey, and the gang from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
What we lack in formal education, we more than make up for in street smarts.
Apple wants to own your entire digital life, from the moment your iPhone alarm wakes you up in the morning to the moment you doze off watching Apple TV at night. That's a scary thought considering how much time we're wasting on our iPhones already, but it's the exact same plan that Google, Amazon, and Facebook also have. Who knows? Maybe Apple will take a page out of a competitor's playbook and bundle all of its offerings with the iPhone into one big monthly subscription. Apple Prime, anyone? These are smart growth strategies, but they're still plans for a very iPhone-centric world, which brings us to our third number.
$14 billion.
That's how much Apple will spend on research and development this year as it searches for the true successor to the iPhone. Since the death of Steve Jobs in 2011, Apple skeptics have been wondering if the company can invent another revolutionary product. Jobs' last big venture, the iPad, was supposed to transform publishing, but it proved to be a passing fad. The much-hyped Apple Watch was supposed to be our first step in cyborg assimilation, but wearables are still a niche market. And Apple's latest, the HomePod speaker, is its first attempt to sell the smart home to the masses. But it isn't making much headway against Amazon's dominant Echo.
You actually don't have to yell at it.
Apple's more ambitious efforts have faced headwinds too. The company invested heavily in the so-called Apple Car, a self-driving vehicle that would transform the way we travel.
We sort of see it as the mother of all AI projects.
But the project has faced massive staff cuts, and Apple has reportedly backed off plans to manufacture a vehicle itself. The company's next big gambit is likely to be an augmented reality, an alternative take on virtual reality that places digital objects in the physical world. A headset and a brand new operating system called ROS could launch as soon as 2020, but so far no AR or VR glasses have caught on with the general public. All these efforts have caused Apple's R&D costs to more than double in just 5 years, but the company can't slow down.
How bad are you saying?
It's pretty bad.
Apple is racing to develop all these products at the same time as the rest of the tech giants. Its competitors are only gaining strength. Amazon just reached $1 trillion valuation a month after Apple did. In the future, slick hardware will matter less than the artificial intelligence that makes these gadgets useful. But Apple is still behind its competitors when it comes to recruiting top AI researchers and overall R&D spending. Siri, while clever, isn't the smartest AI assistant out there.
That's some bullshit.
We should move on.
So what is the next iPhone? No one really knows, including Apple itself. But no company has ever been better at getting so many people to spend so much cash on gadgets, games, and yes, wildly overpriced accessories. As long as iPhone customers remain loyal, the company won't have to answer the question of what's next for a while yet. You got any predictions, Siri?
Apple's valuation must keep rising so that human civilization, can continue to prosper.
Sure. And if it doesn't, what should the company tell investors? Siri? Siri?
Powering off.
Okay then.